It's just a little past sunrise, and we are at the Kraft Mountain parking area, the Trailhead parking for Kraft Mountain. And on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, we have an adventure doing the Kraft Mountain Loop and also the Gateway Canyon Loop. Today we're going to try something different. We're going to do Ash Canyon and head over. What you're looking at over here is the area of Ash Canyon, and there's a Girl Scout trail here that I believe goes to Ash Spring, but we're not going to go to Ash Spring. We're going to head over to Ash Canyon, go through Ash Canyon, and connect with the Calico Tanks Trail, and head up to Calico Tanks and take some pictures of the tanks actually full of water. Last time we were here was in, I think it was August, July or August. The tanks were dry. So I want to get some pictures of Calico tanks filled with water, and then head over, depending on the amount of energy that's left after that experience, head on over to Turtlehead Peak and then back to the Kraft Mountain Trailhead where we are right now. So we're going to take the Ash Canyon Trail and connect up with the Rattlesnake Trail and then the Calico Tanks Trail. So here we go. We're going to see what happens. I've never done this Ash Canyon Trail, so we're going to find out where it is actually. Okay, to get a little perspective, locating this Ash Canyon Trail, we are looking at the Hell Hill Trail, which goes up to Pink Goblin Pass. We know we take a left before we get to that hill, and so we're heading off in this direction. Let's see where we can connect up with that Ash Canyon Trail. I'm not sure it's marked well. There are a lot of trail markings here, but most of them lead to the Kraft Mountain Loop, which is over Hell Hill and then around the back side of Kraft Mountain here. But we are heading in this direction. Let's go. Okay, here's the split to Hell Hill, the Kraft Mountain Loop. And I'm going to head off this way. I know there's an Ash Spring Trail and an Ash Canyon Trail. So this is where we begin to hit some unmarked trails. But looking at the topography here, it doesn't look like there's many canyons ahead. So we just need to piece together what would be Ash Canyon. And I think once we head in that direction, hopefully a trail will appear. Okay, as I thought, the trails that we're really seeking are unmarked. The Ash Canyon Trail. Here's a trail that heads up. There's another trail that heads upward. And I'm thinking one of those has got to be Ash Canyon. This trail here is leading to Ash Spring, and it is marked. I know that Ash Spring is below the area that we're seeking, although maybe Ash Canyon Trail spins off from Ash Spring. We don't know. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this little promising trail and see if that leads toward Ash Canyon. So not sure I want to go down in this area. I'm not sure that would lead to Ash Canyon. We will explore Ash Spring at some time, but for now, let's head up in this direction. My gut's telling me this is a potential Ash Canyon Trail, though it's unmarked. Well, here's a little cairn set up by the Bureau of Land Management, and it tells me nothing. So here's a little more information about that cairn and this area, the marker. We still don't know where Ash Canyon is, but wow, look at the sunrise over the Calico Hills. You're looking over to the Calico Hills right now. And over to the Ash Canyon area, wherever that is. And then Kraft Mountain. So let's continue up this little trail and see if it might be the Ash Canyon Trail. Here's a good high perspective of Ash Spring area. There it is below us. But we're continuing up to what I believe would be Ash Canyon. Okay, there you're looking to Hell Hill, Pink Goblin Pass, part of the Kraft Mountain Loop. And then Ash Canyon would be in this direction, and I believe it is above Ash Spring, which is below us. And I'm not thinking that this little candidate is Ash Canyon. It looks a little too rugged. So, continuing along this spotty, unmarked trail, if you could even call it a trail, up in this direction. Let's see where it leads. Okay, so far seeing nothing that really looks like a trail up here, but guessing that if there is an Ash Canyon split off, it's got to be somewhere around here. I see something that looks like a little trail below us, and we'll take that and see where it leads. Give you a 360-degree view of the area. The Red Rock Canyon is on the other side of this, these hills, and Calico Basin is on this side. There's Ash Spring. Now we're looking down Calico Basin, and maybe you can see a little bit of Las Vegas and the Strip. Let's zoom in on that. Then over to Kraft Mountain. Hell Hill and Pink Goblin Pass. And still looking for Ash Canyon somewhere in this area. We'll take this little trail below us and see where it leads. Okay, now we're definitely on a trail. What trail it is, we do not know. But we're exploring. Should be interesting. It may lead back, circle around to Hell Hill. We don't know. I'm not seeing it heading in the Ash Canyon direction, but Who knows? Let's just continue and see where this leads. That last trail reconnected with Hell Hill Trail toward Pink Goblin Pass. I retraced my way a little bit and then found this interesting little trail that's leading to the direction where Ash Canyon should be. So let's take this for a while, see where it leads. Exploration day here. This little trail is appearing and disappearing. I can see it reappearing on the other side of this gully ahead. And to give you perspective, there's the Ash Spring area. We're now above it, which is where we should be. And then in this area is the Kraft Mountain Trailhead parking area. And there's Kraft Mountain. And up this area is what could be Ash Canyon. We don't know. So let's continue to explore. Okay, now I'm seeing a cairn here. And it looks like a trail that's continuing beyond the cairn. So could this be the Ash Canyon Trail? We don't know. But hindsight says that if it is, the way to go would be to head over to Ash Spring, which is right below us from the Kraft Mountain Trailhead area. Head to Ash Spring and then head up in this direction. So we don't know, but let's continue to explore. Continuing on a little unmarked trail that looks like it could be Ash Canyon Trail. Who knows? Heading toward this canyon up ahead, which, if this is Ash Canyon Trail, that would be Ash Canyon. Let's see. Okay, this little unmarked trail continues upward, and there is a canyon, so could that be Ash Canyon? We don't know. But just to give a perspective, there's Kraft Mountain, and there's the Kraft Mountain Trailhead straight ahead in the center. Ash Spring area below us. And if this is the correct trail, the strategy would be to head over to Ash Spring, head upward, and locate this little trail and this canyon. But we don't know for sure yet. Let's continue to explore and find out. Now ascending the boulders of a canyon wash. A little rugged down here, but looks like things even out a little bit up ahead. Let's see where this leads. And by the way, for perspective, we look around and there in this direction, still the Kraft Mountain Trailhead area. So it gives you an idea where we are. We could have got here a lot faster, but it's been a lot of trail searching. So let's head up this canyon. Maybe this is Ash Canyon. We'll see. Continuing to ascend what looks like some canyon. And here's a little marker that says absolutely nothing. And looking down, there's the Kraft Mountain Trailhead area down below. So there you have an idea where we are, and this would be a more direct route to where I am. Would be go over to Ash Spring from Kraft Mountain, Trailhead, go to Ash Spring, which is below us, and then head up this canyon. If it is indeed Ash Canyon, we'll continue upward and just see what we see up here. And believe it or not, if you look very closely at the ground ahead, as we ascend, we're following what continues to look like an unmarked trail. And hopefully it's not a rock climber's approach trail to a cliff, but rather a trail that will take us up Ash Canyon. We don't know. Well, it's good I ascended this little trail that winds above the canyon, because had I stayed in the canyon below, I would have hit this pour over, which looks like a tough thing to manage. But on the other hand, here you can see we're skirting to the right as we ascend, and we have ascended above, or we are ascending above this pour over. So let's continue on this little unmarked trail, and let's imagine we are in Ash Canyon and see what happens what things look like when we reach the summit up there, if that is the summit. So far the strategy seems to be to hug the cliff on the right of this canyon and continue to ascend. And looking around, there we're looking downward toward Ash Spring. So it does give you an idea where a more direct route would be. Head to Ash Spring and then head up through this canyon. If this is indeed Ash Canyon, I'm looking for anything that says ash, whether it be ash trees or ash from a burnout. We don't know, but not being a botanist, I've seen neither. Well, it seems that the route, if there is a route through this canyon, is to hug the right side on the way up. And you can see evidence of a kind of trail. And looking around, pretty imposing landscape around us. And looking straight down to Ash Spring. See if we can finish this 360. Not on a very secure spot, but yeah. There you go. So here is a look at the canyon from where we are. I thought I heard voices. There is a climbing party below me. Let's see if we can nail its position. Yeah, it's somewhere down in this area, the Ash Spring area. And they just disappeared. Maybe they're heading up this canyon. We don't know. Maybe Ash Canyon is on the other side of these cliffs, but let's continue up here. We're kind of committed to continuing up this area, and it looks like we're reaching a high point ahead. Well, there continues to appear, disappear, and reappear a fairly nice trail, as trails in this kind of terrain go. So whether this is the Ash Canyon Trail or not, it's definitely something. There's the base of the canyon below us. Definitely don't want to be down there. And then looking toward Ash Spring. And continuing to wind upward. Karen ahead, letting us know that we are on some kind of path. And it tends to be a good path. And then looking down, there is what appears to be a pretty large meetup group, climbing group, who knows? But they're heading up this way. Maybe by the time I get to the top, they can verify whether we are indeed on the Ash Canyon Trail. So let's continue. Well, for what it's worth, we made a little crossing of the canyon just below us and continuing up what looks like a trail. Got someone heading up behind us. I predict about the time that they tell me where I am, I'll know where I am. And then in the distance, Kraft Mountain area, parking area down there. So you could probably figure out a more direct way to this point. Just by looking at the terrain and continuing on up. Things are looking very good. Yeah, next time I take this little trail, it'll be a lot faster because I'll know where I am. Okay, now we're at a high point. See some mountains ahead. The Rainbow Mountains, most likely. And then a higher peak behind. Maybe that's on the Wilson Ridge. We don't know for sure. But this area that I'm in is looking familiar. It almost looks like the summit area of the Calico Tanks Trail. It just looks faintly familiar. And if that is indeed the case, hey, we found a way to get up to the summit of Calico Tanks Trail. We'll find out in a little bit. And there is Blue Diamond Hill. And then looking down, there we're seeing the Kraft Mountain Trailhead area. And there on the left is Kraft Mountain. So yeah, this would be amazing if this was indeed the summit of the Calico Tanks Trail. That will have saved me circling around on the Rattlesnake Trail. So yeah, this could really be nice, but we'll find out in a little bit. Okay, now we're seeing the Keystone Thrust Cliffs ahead at the back, or we'll say the north side of Red Rock Canyon. And I'm imagining we're looking at El Padre or El Bastardo. We don't know. But there are the cliffs, which means we are in a canyon. There's still a nice trail here, as you can see. So there's a trail heading downward. Could we possibly be at the summit of the Calico Tanks area? We don't know. But let's continue to wind down this canyon, and then just to get a perspective, yeah, you can see tall cliffs to my west, and then looking down the canyon. Yeah, definitely on the way back we'll want to hit the high trail on the left on the way back. It was on the right on the way. But this is very interesting. This could be a backdoor connection to Calico Tanks, or it could be something else. We just don't know at this point. Let's continue. Okay, now this is turning into a very well established trail, and I'm guessing this is heading down into Red Rock Canyon. We don't know where we're going to hit the canyon, but yes, this is the best trail I've been on yet today. So this is very good. And you can see the trail up ahead, continuing to wind through this canyon. Continuing to wind along this very nice trail. I'm still thinking we're in the summit area of the Calico Tanks, but not sure until we come out to something familiar. This is looking around, get an idea where we are in the bigger picture. Nice trail that we're on at this point. Once we reach the summit of that canyon, rising up from Kraft, from Ash Spring area, we hit this trail, which is a very decent trail. So yeah, it still looks familiar, like it could be the Calico Tanks Trail beyond the upper tank. We don't know for sure, but that's still my guess. Curiously, looking back, you can still see the Kraft Mountain parking trailhead down below, or at least that area. And let's take a 360 look at where we are. Rocks becoming very, very beautiful. And then guess what? Here's Turtlehead Peak. So continuing on, who knows where we're going to come out here, but we'll find out. Okay, now we're looking at what looks like a split in the trail. I'm wondering if this is where the Rattlesnake Trail meets the Ash Canyon Trail, because the trail is definitely leading off to the left, giving you a choice of going to the left or to the right. Let's get a larger look. And to the right, that looks to me like Gateway Canyon. And to head down this trail to the right and then take a right again would potentially lead up to, after going down into Gateway Canyon, would lead up to Hell Hill and Pink Goblin Pass. So that may be the way we take on the return trip. Here you can see the tip of Turtlehead Peak. And the trail that leads off to the left would then be leading to connect with the Calico Tanks Trail, which means at this split, we are connecting with the Rattlesnake Trail, which goes to the right and to the left. We don't know for sure, but that's my best guess. So let's head off in this direction and see where this trail connects. It should, if it's the Rattlesnake Trail, it should connect closer to the base of the Calico Tanks Trail, and then we have to head up to Calico Tanks. So that's the current guess. Okay, continuing to work our way forward here. And yeah, I think we're going to be descending to a point where we meet up with the Calico Tanks Trail, near the base of that trail. And there you see the Keystone Thrust La Madre Mountains up ahead. There are the cliffs. And I always like to look back to see how to get back to our starting point. And here you see a pointy hill, and we would skirt the base to the left of that hill. That'll take us down to Gateway Canyon. So that's going to be a landmark we look for on the way back, because we do not know exactly where we are just yet. We've got a good guess. We see a lot of familiar landmarks: Turtlehead Peak, the Keystone Thrust Cliffs, Gateway Canyon, but still not sure exactly where we are. Yeah, my best guess is that we are on the Rattlesnake Trail, heading down toward the base of the Calico Tanks Trail, and we're at least going to get up to Calico Tanks. Then we'll take this trail and head over to Gateway Canyon on the way back. I don't know if we're going to hit Turtlehead Peak today. It just depends. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get through Ash Canyon, and I think we were indeed in Ash Canyon on the Ash Canyon Trail, so that's something. So let's continue on. And you see the very tip of Turtlehead Peak, that rocky area to the left. Yeah, starkly beautiful here. Look at this. Just amazing. By the way, it is the last weekend in March We started out at about 40 degrees temperature. I would not attempt this in the middle of the summer. If you were to take a wrong turn, that could prove to be fatal, provided how much water you were carrying. So this time of year, at this temperature, I think we're looking at a high of 60, maybe a little bit above 60 today. At this temperature, you can explore this area relatively safely, but I still have 3 liters of water with me just in case. So let's continue on. Here's another familiar landmark, is White Rock Mountain. There you go. So it really helps to know the major landmarks, where you are if you're gonna wander around in this desert area where trails split off and head down canyons, and who knows where you're gonna end up. But I've got a basic idea where I am because I've wandered around all these landmarks in the past. And if worse came to worse, and I couldn't find my way back up this trail, I could always head down the Grand Circle Loop and circle around Kraft Mountain area, but I don't want to do that. That's a long ways. Well, this trail continues to wind down through this wash. As we get lower, we hit more brush. But it's apparent that we are on a trail, and hopefully on the correct trail, which would be the Rattlesnake Trail. But we don't know. And then there's always choices. Head down this little, I don't know, that's pretty narrow. Got water at the bottom. Let's go up this way. See if we can descend from above. Yes, here we are. Avoided that little tight squeeze. So continuing down. Well, and there above us is Turtlehead Peak. So we know that on the return trip we need to come up through this canyon. Want to make sure we hit the canyon entrance trail. And this canyon's leading downward, and I believe we'll be connecting with the Calico Tanks Trail. And there is Rainbow Mountain on the left and Bridge Mountain on the right. It's Buffalo Wall directly above those trees. So everything's familiar. And I do believe this is the Rattlesnake Trail. Onward. Some nice little ponds in this canyon. It has rained a lot lately in February and March, which is one reason that I took this high route rather than try to cross Death Valley again. Had I attempted Death Valley, I would have ended up in a marsh at the center of the valley. So let's continue on down this little canyon wash, see where we end up. Continuing to descend. Thought I'd stop by this little waterfall and pond. Peaceful spot. And we may already be on the Calico Tanks Trail. We don't know. I think I saw where it might have split off a bit ago. But we'll find out. first actual trail sign. Yes, this is where the Rattlesnake Trail splits off to the left and Calico Tanks splits off to the right. So this is the Calico Tanks Trail. We're going to go up to the tanks and get a few pictures of them full, which we didn't get last August. And this is going to be our return trip, which is going to be the left of this sign, totally unmarked. There you can see Turtlehead Peak, and we're going to head up between, so I want to make clear where this connector is. Yeah, we want to head up that area to arrive at the split where Rattlesnake Trail goes down into Gateway Canyon, which is the way we will take on our return. So there you have it for now. What we're going to do is we're going to head up the Calico Tanks Trail to Calico Tanks. Heading up the Calico Tanks Trail, definitely a lot more water than the zero water we saw last July or August. So it's a matter of finding bypasses when the water gets too deep. And we'll see where what the tanks look like up ahead. More people on this trail. I didn't see a soul, or at least pass anyone, on the Ash Canyon Trail or the Rattlesnake Trail. But here we are on the very popular Calico Tanks Trail. And behind us, one of the iconic images of Turtlehead Peak from the Calico Tanks Trail. This is a very well-marked trail. And it remains very passable even when the water's running in March. Lots of tanks in the Calico Tanks today. This isn't even what is referred to as the lower tank. This we'd call an extra. So let's continue on upward. Continuing up toward the tanks. I think we're closing in on them. But then again, they could be way further. We'll see. Our main challenge is finding the Rattlesnake Trail on the way back. Calico tank number 1. And it is full. And you can see the pictures of the tank dry on LasVegasAreaTrails.com Calico Tanks page. You can see people climbing the rocks to circumvent the water down there, which is fairly deep and wet. And just to give you an idea how we got up here, there is a fairly nice bypass up here. So remember, tank number 1, if it's got too much water in it, take the bypass on the right. And wow, look how The Keystone thrust cliffs have come into fuller view. Along with Turtlehead Peak. And a lot more traffic here than on the Rattlesnake Trail and the Ash Canyon Trail. An even better perspective of the tank with better lighting. And you see all the activity here. The choices are whether to take the low road and wade in the water, or take the high road and climb over the rocks. I chose the high road. Glad I did. Keep my feet dry. Here we are on the summit of the Calico Tanks Trail, and you can see down into Las Vegas. And also down into Kraft mountain area, our Calico Basin, where we began.
Super cool.
Come.
Another perspective of the tank.
I think that as I get older, I am getting.
And here's where we are.
Because that way you can get the actual.
I can get it.
Final shot of Las Vegas from the summit of the Calico Tanks Trail. There's the strip. And a final shot of the Calico Tanks. Okay, here's where we connect with the Rattlesnake Trail again. And we'll go around this way. So you can see the sign. This is the marker. And this is the way we want to go. So, all I know is that we keep to the right of Turtlehead Peak. So we're going to angle around and head up in this direction through the canyon. And the Rattlesnake Trail appears and disappears down here. It gets a lot more visible, easy to follow the further up you go. So I'm just going to take what looks like trails, but in the big picture, I know I'm heading straight ahead and going to find a canyon. And if I happen to be on a trail, that's great. If not, I'm going to keep heading toward the opening in the canyon that I'm sighting. Okay, we are keeping this huge white rock to our right and continuing up this way. Looks like we're on a trail. And so what we want to do is sight that area where we hit the split of the Rattlesnake Trail and the Ash Canyon Trail. And we don't know where that is just now, but it's got to be up in this direction. There's Turtlehead Peak over there. We know that we want to be to the right of Turtlehead Peak. So let's continue on, just see where this leads us. Okay, I have a vague memory of this area. Yes, on the way. And you might recognize some video from this area. So, yeah, I think I'm on track. Okay, there's the tip of Turtlehead Peak on the right. I mean the left. And I remember seeing that tip. And here is a little trail. And what are the chances that this is indeed the Rattlesnake Trail? In which case, I've got decent trails all the way back to the Kraft Mountain Trailhead. We'll see. And there I see ahead that dark peak straight ahead. Reminds me of the area where I came down the right side of that peak after descending from the Ash Canyon Trail, and I would skirt the left side of that peak, the forward base of the peak, left side. That's where the Rattlesnake Trail goes down into Gateway Canyon. And so far today, I've been right on track as far as hitting the Ash Canyon Trail and the Rattlesnake Trail. Currently on the Rattlesnake Trail. So things are looking good for heading back. And of course there is no end to weird rock formations. I wonder how in the world this rock ended up shaped like this. But there it is. And just note, coming up from the Calico Tanks Trail and making that turn onto the Rattlesnake Trail, you begin in a wash. And it really takes picking your way along. A lot of dead ends, a lot of pour over walls. I had to do some experimentation. It wasn't this easy. What you see is a great trail here, the Rattlesnake Trail. No, it wasn't that easy. The first, I don't know, 100 yards, 1,000 yards. But eventually, if you keep Turtlehead Peak to your left and head up the canyon to the right, the far right of Turtlehead Peak, and there you see the tip of Turtlehead Peak right in the center. But if you head up in this direction, you see we're far to the right of Turtlehead Peak, especially from the perspective when we first left the Calico Tanks Trail. Eventually, if you make it through the dead ends and keep the large picture perspective, you're going to come across the nice Rattlesnake Trail. Then you pretty much got it made. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the Rattlesnake Trail and we're going to head down to Gateway Canyon and then on up to up Hell Hill to Pink Goblin Pass, and then descend from Pink Goblin Pass to the Kraft Mountain Trailhead area. So we're pretty much set as far as our path now. There are some signs along the way, but they're not extremely helpful. They just remind you that this is a wilderness boundary. Doesn't tell you what trail you're on. In fact, you won't see a sign that says Rattlesnake Trail or Ash Canyon Trail. You pretty much need to know where they are. I've got a map on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, and yeah, do a search on Ash Canyon, and you'll see basically the route that I traced that takes us up Ash Canyon, connects with the Rattlesnake Trail, heads down to Calico Tanks Trail, takes a left, and heads up to the Calico Tanks. And we've been on track this whole time, even though there are no trail markings and I've never been here before. I can say now though that we have been exactly on track. Okay, we're heading down toward Gateway Canyon. And I'll show you where the trail connector is between the Rattlesnake Trail that we are on right now and the Ash Canyon Trail. But basically, you see this large hill right in the center. We're going to take a left, skirt the front end of that hill, down the canyon in front of the hill to the left, and then end up in Gateway Canyon at the base of Hell Hill. So we'll see how all that works out, but it looks pretty simple at this point. Okay, for perspective, here's the upper opening of Ash Canyon, straight ahead. And over in this direction is the connector between the Rattlesnake Trail and the Ash Canyon Trail. And we take the Rattlesnake Trail down this canyon into Gateway Canyon. Okay, here's the connector. And we're leaving the Rattlesnake Trail that heads toward Calico Tanks in that direction. taking it in this direction, it's going to descend into Gateway Canyon. If I headed up this direction, we'd end up in Ash Canyon. And since we ascended by way of Ash Canyon, just for a variety, we're going to go ahead and take this trail down into Gateway Canyon. So here we go. And descending toward Gateway Canyon on what I believe is the Rattlesnake Trail. I have a high probability here that this is indeed the Rattlesnake Trail. So let's just see where in Gateway Canyon this trail ends up. And is there a way to skirt the upper end of this hill? So I'll be looking for a side trail that will lead us up to Pink Goblin Pass without descending all the way into Gateway Canyon. That's a lot to ask. So we'll see what actually happens here. Okay, this may be what I was looking for. Here is the Rattlesnake Trail heading down into Gateway Canyon. Here is an interesting little side trail that may skirt the upper edge of this hill and lead up to a higher point on Hell Hill below the Pink Goblin Pass. We don't know, but I'm going to just go ahead and take this and see where it leads. Okay, yeah, you can see Gateway Canyon far below us. And then up this hill, yeah, you've really got to pick out where the trail is because it is not very clear at all. But my guess is that this is going to be the shortcut to Pink Goblin Pass. If I'm wrong, the worst is that I need to head back down the Rattlesnake Trail down below us here in the canyon and then over to Gateway Canyon. But a hunch says this is going to take us up to Pink Goblin Pass without so much descent and ascent. Another thing, I don't want to ascend too far above the Hell Hill Trail because that kind of defeats the purpose. Then I'd have to descend again to the trail. There seems to be a nice pathway here. Very faintly marked. I want to see what's over this next ridge. I think there's where we will see Pink Goblin Pass. And just to give a 360-degree view, yeah, looking down the Gateway Canyon over to Turtlehead Peak and then up the Rattlesnake Trail Canyon that we started to descend and then continuing. So it's just a matter of picking out the best approach to the summit of Pink Goblin Pass. And I think it's going to be up in this direction. So here we go. Okay, continuing on. I just need to skirt this area of canyons and ridges. And there in the center is Kraft Mountain, and on the right side would be Pink Goblin Pass. So we'll see if we can skirt this area between where we are and Kraft Mountain and end up at Pink Goblin Pass. And then you can see the expanse below us. By the way, yeah, here's a shot of the Las Vegas Strip. And then looking around, here below is Gateway Canyon. Winding upward to skirt the right side of Turtlehead Peak, which is center. So that pretty much tells the story of where we are. And we'll just see what I've gotten myself into here. If it's a relatively painless trek over to Pink Goblin Pass, or we're going to hit a huge canyon and have to descend toward Gateway Canyon or retrace our steps. Okay, onward. Well, I'm pretty certain that I am on a bighorn sheep trail at the moment. If anyone can navigate through these ridges, it's a bighorn sheep. So I'm just going to follow their trail if I can stay on it. And onward to this next ridge up ahead. You see that rocky bluff, and just possibly that will be a point at which we see Pink Goblin Pass. Okay, there you see the reddish mountain. That's Kraft Mountain. And Pink Goblin Pass is below us. So, yeah. We have skirted this entire area. Hindsight says it probably would have been faster to go all the way down to Gateway Canyon and then come up. But hey, I was thinking maybe this would be a quicker way. Wrong. Anyway, yeah, now I need to find the trail that's going to take us to Pink Goblin Pass. So we're going to need to do some descending, and hopefully we'll land right near Pink Goblin Pass. Okay, descending toward Pink Goblin Pass, which is below, and it looks like there's a little trail here. That would be nice. And there's Turtlehead Peak up there. La Madre Mountains above and to the right. And below us is Hell Hill. And we're actually descending to Hell Hill, hopefully on this nice little trail that we've discovered. So let's continue on. And by the way, yeah, there's our goal, Kraft Mountain Trailhead area. And just to complete the picture, there's Blue Diamond Hill. And here we are looking up. And I guess this would go over the top and down to Ash Canyon. We don't know. But let's take this little trail and see if this will take us to Pink Goblin Pass. Okay, I'm going to call this hill harder than hell. It's harder than Hell Hill. And I can see the Hell Hill trail below us. It's just a matter of getting down there. So here we go, descending harder than hell, and my strategy is to avoid any exposure because all the rock up here is loose. This is reminding me of a little version of Mummy Mountain. There seems to be an avalanche trail here. And we're closing in on Pink Goblin Pass and the Hell Hill Trail, which is below us, but there's a few little challenges along the way. So continuing down. This little controlled avalanche. By the way, as long as we are on this avalanche slope, and it is starting to even out, that is the slope I came down. Very loose. But as long as we're here, I'll give my avalanche slope strategy. It includes these yucca stalks, and you can see how to make them on Las Vegas Area Trail, areatrails.com, and do a search on gear, and you should arrive at this page where I show how to make these yucca stalks. They're very sturdy. They're not going to collapse. That's a plus and a minus. The plus part is that, yes, they don't collapse. The minus part is that you can't collapse them and store them in your backpack. But all that said, wow, they're very helpful on an avalanche slope. Another part of my strategy is trail running shoes. Very light, good traction, although no traction is good enough on those really loose rock areas. And then a third part of my strategy is that I'm wearing knee braces for stability on the downhill. And wow, they really help. And that extra stability means the difference between sliding, slipping, and being able to catch yourself. So there you have it. And you can also look up knee brace on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, and you can see where I demo the knee brace. And wow, they work as shock absorbers on the downhill and add a lot of stability so that I avoid knee injuries. I used to have knee injuries a lot, but with the knee braces plus chondroitin, glucosamine as a supplement, I have not had knee injuries for the past 30 years. I used to have them over 30 years ago. They'd knock me out of marathon runs, and since this knee strategy that I've described just a moment ago, I've had no knee injuries. So That gives you a little bit of strategy for areas like this. And we're coming up on the Hell Hill Trail. But this is what we just descended. It was delightful. And let's see where we're connecting with Hell Hill Trail below Pink Goblin Pass. There's Pink Goblin Pass, by the way, right here. And you can tell where it got its name from the pink coloring of the rock. Very beautiful. And in the sunlight, there's some clouds right now, but in the sunlight, Pink Goblin Pass really looks pink, and it just glows. And here is Hell Hill Trail, which will take us down to the Kraft Mountain Trailhead area. Here we go. And you're looking, by the way, straight ahead in the center. You're looking at Calico Hills, and then to the left and behind is Blue Diamond Hill. Okay, let's give a summary of what we've done. I went up up Hell Hill and then turned left toward Ash Canyon, went up Ash Canyon and connected with the Rattlesnake Trail, took that down to Calico Hills Trail, took a left and then headed up to Calico Hills, and then back down to the Rattlesnake Trail and headed up to the canyon above, Gateway Canyon. Started down toward Gateway Canyon, then decided that I would take a shortcut and skirted the cliffs up above there. Eventually descended by a pretty steep avalanche slope, a lot of loose rock, down to Pink Goblin Pass, and then down Hell Hill. Now, what I would do different in the future would be I'd start out at the Kraft Mountain Trailhead. I'd head over to Ash Spring and then head up Ash Canyon. I'd do the same thing I did before as far as heading down Rattlesnake Trail to the Calico Hills Trail. But another thing I do different is on the way back, rather than take the shortcut across the ridges toward Pink Goblin Pass, I would have descended all the way to Gateway Canyon and then taken the regular Kraft Mountain Loop up to Pink Goblin Pass and over. I think that would have been faster, but this was quite the adventure. A lot of fun. So there are trails that are pretty much unknown and unmarked in the Calico Basin area, and we've seen a couple of those: the Ash Canyon Trail and the Rattlesnake Trail. So try those out sometime. Hopefully not in the middle of summer. It's, again, the last weekend in March, and it's been 40 to 60 degrees all day, so it's a good temperature to explore. Okay, and there we're looking at Kraft Mountain. Pink Goblin Pass to the right, well, between those two high points there ahead. Ash Canyon right in the center. And so that pretty much tells the entire story of our day today. Okay, approaching the Kraft Mountain Trailhead area, signing off.